Welcome to the Oyster Aero PearlCast, where we sit down with founders and leaders shaping the aviation industry, from freshly formed startups to the biggest names in the sky. This episode is brought to you by our friends at Turbo Resources in Phoenix, Arizona, now operating in 450,000 square feet of state-of-the-art warehouse space. Turbo continues to keep the aviation industry flying and is actively buying material. Now, we hope you enjoy this episode.
Hello, everyone. Jeff Yergi here on the Oyster Aero PearlCast, and I am delighted to have Maddison Gay with CorePilot, and she will now be known as Maddie. Maddie, how are you doing?
I'm great. How about you?
Doing good. How's summer treating you so far?
Summer is good. Down in Miami, it's very hot, though not as hot as usual. So that's the good part about summer in Miami. You never know what you're going to get. But so far, so good.
Good deal.
You're up in North Carolina?
Memphis.
Yeah. Tennessee. There you go. It's supposedly warmer the more north you get.
Yeah. Memphis is like Florida without the beach. It's very humid, and then there's no sea wall or no place to go. Anyway.
There you go.
So talk to us about you. You're in a startup called CorePilot, which is an ERP, right?
Yes, indeed.
Yeah. All right. How'd you jump into this?
So me and my team, we all come from a software background. And so me personally, I was a software investor for a bit. I worked as chief of staff at a software company out in San Francisco for quite a few years. And all that time was really building a lot of base knowledge, working with, as an investor, working with other founders, as the chief of staff, working with the founder of my company, of how to start a company, how to run a successful company, what does a good company look like? And the big takeaway I got from that experience was a system that can go into an industry and completely, advance the industry or make all of these changes is not only a really good business from a business standpoint, but it has the potential to make a lot of change happen and makes you really tight with your customers and gets you really into the industry. And so that was kind of always the thought process going into wanting to start my own industry or my own company. I knew it was going to be in the aviation industry because I grew up in the aviation industry. My dad was an F-16 fighter pilot in the Air Force for 20 years. His grandfather was an F-16 pilot. My great-grandfather was a pilot in the Air Force, and now my brother's an F-16 pilot. So It's in my blood.
That's cool.
Yeah. So definitely wanted to figure out a way to kind of take all that software knowledge and get back into the industry, and found some investors, got them on board with that vision, and they helped me research and understand the aviation space. And what it really came down to was, where in the aviation space can we have the greatest outsized impact, right? Where can we, make a change, and then that has graduated effects across the entire industry. And it quickly became clear that the aviation aftermarket is that place. If we can speed up part transfer and moving parts and getting parts to the end market, we're able to get planes back up in the air faster. We're able to just really move the space along. And so that was the thesis going into it in early 2023. And we've been doing it for about 2 years and are loving it.
Wow. So congratulations on that, by the way.
Thank you.
So how's it going? Like how's the launch of CorePilot, and how'd you come up with the name? Do you have is there a story around that, or is it just a cool name?
It's really, I knew I always wanted pilot in the name because those were my roots. And so wanted to have that word pilot there. And the more I talked to people in the industry, the more I learned about it. Core is obviously a big aspect of the aftermarket, sending and receiving core. And so I liked the concept of CorePilot. And I will say that we released our name, I think 6 months before Microsoft Copilot came out. So it was our idea first.
There you go. They stole from you, obviously.
Exactly.
So, all right. Well, good. So, how's the launch going?
The launch is going well. We have a really great base of initial customers that we've worked with over these 2 years. We've worked with those customers along with 30 to 40 industry advisors across the entire space to help really get it industry specific. And so that's the nice part about CorePilot, is we're not built on top of another platform. And so we're able to completely control our code base and get incredibly niche and specific to aftermarket part suppliers in their workflows. So that's what we spent about the first year and a half doing. And then the last 6 months have really been focused on launching, bringing people on board, getting them up and running. And you're obviously on the cloud as well. There's development never stops when you're in the cloud. So that's been our bread and butter these days, is launching people and continuing to develop to their needs.
Sure. Now, many years ago, there was only like one ERP, maybe two, in the aviation aftermarket, and there are several out there now.
Yes.
So I'm sure you get this all the time, but how do you answer the how is CorePilot different than what else is out there? What
Yeah.
makes you guys unique?
So a couple of things. So what you saw in the technology evolution, at least within the aviation aftermarket, is you saw ERP come about, right? In the 80s, there was one ERP platform. It was huge. It came into the industry and it gave people a software platform. And then you saw this conversion probably 10 years ago from just software, server-based ERPs into cloud-based ERPs. And now you're seeing this conversion into AI-powered ERPs. And that is what I will say I think we are on the front line of. We do have that software background. We have that software experience. All of our engineers have either driven and created the AI platforms at other companies, or they're incredibly familiar with it and have spent their entire careers, learning and studying with AI. So I think being an AI first platform is what makes us stand out and be pretty different. We didn't just build AI into the platform as it already existed. We've built with it from the beginning. And then I think the other aspect is that customer service and the ability to continuously build with you. Like I said, we own our own code. And so anytime tweaks and changes need to be had, you're dealing directly with us, you're dealing directly with our engineers. And so we're able to provide more of a configurable experience for our customers that larger platforms may not have access to.
Got it. Well, that's pretty good. And how do you find like the launch with these customers? Because aviation parts are so complex, right? I
So
mean,
complex.
it's not just list some inventory and send a bill and you're done, right? So
Yeah, and that's what we really spent, the 2 years or year and a half leading up to launch doing, is really sussing out all of those intricacies that are in the workflows, to where we're really confident that we have a great, global system. I always call it the full circle of you can buy, you can sell, you can store, you can ship, you can receive. You can do repair management as well. And so once we built that circle, now it's working with individual customers through their launch to get any little small tweaks and field differentials in their system, so that their team has all of the information they need to just use the system out of the box.
with AI, I'm sure you remember everybody kind of used the term blockchain in marketing, right? And
Yep.
everybody used that. And then we met a company a couple weeks ago that's really been actually doing it. And I get the sense that you're not just throwing around AI, as you just mentioned. So where do you find AI in the ERP cycle is being used the most right now?
Yeah. So right now, realistically, you have to build up trust in an industry for AI, right? It's a new thing. Nobody's really had access to it. And so what we're really using right now is AI to eliminate manual data entry. So typing in history, reading RFQs that come into the platform, reading vendor quotes that come into the platform, instead of having to manually log all of that information, we're using AI to process that, which enables you to get to the next step after the processing of that information that much quicker, pretty much instantaneously, right? And so you can do things like, auto quote or auto purchase order, or, auto broker if you're in the brokering business, through the use of having AI in the platform. Where we want to go with it, I mean, this industry has so much data within their ERP. And so the real use of AI is to take large data amalgamations and create strategy out of it, right? And so if you have all of this data that you're sitting on, but you don't necessarily know how to analyze it, you can use machine learning and create rules, right? Like every time this is true, I want this to be true. We've had that in platforms for a long time. But what AI is able to do is AI can take 7 different sources of data and start making estimations and say, well, generally you're selling 20 of these parts in the fall of every year. So let's start to prepare you ahead of time so you're ready for that cycle. And so I think there's a lot of cool things that, we don't have built into the platform today, because we're building up that trust cycle with AI that we can go to in the future.
Very cool. So, in the industry now for 2 or 3 years, what's maybe surprised you the most about it?
I think what has surprised me, because as an investor, I've seen hundreds of different industries. this industry is so incredibly friendly, willing to help, excited to get on the technology revolution. Everyone is thrilled with any sort of new technology, even competitors, right? Competitors are excited to see new people in the industry because it means new ideas, new adoption, new drive towards, making the move to next gen technology. And so I've been really pleasantly surprised by the people in this industry, specifically, outbound calling and emails and walking up to people at conferences can be an uncomfortable, especially when you're not in the industry, can be a pretty uncomfortable situation, but everyone's just incredibly friendly, willing to have a chat, willing to, lend a helping hand. And that's really how we've developed the platform, is those people saying, ooh, I wish that my ERP could do this, or I like what you did here, but maybe tweak this a little bit. And so that's how we've been developing the past 2 years, and has been the biggest surprise.
And then do you find people are hesitant to switch?
Yeah, so what we find, there's a little bit, there's two things that we usually run into. The value of the switch outweighing the value of the time and effort that goes into switching. And this is true across all ERPs, across every industry, right? It's how you run your system, it's how you run or your business. Your entire business gets switched over to this ERP. And so there's a decent amount of time investment, change management, people needing to learn a new system. That you have to see that end value there. And so that's what I think we have really invested in, is that user experience, showing the value up front, in that you can just see it in the demo even, right? But one other thing that we run into a lot is what we call sunk cost fallacy. So it's the idea that, I bought this ERP back in the 80s or the 90s. I have sunk thousands of dollars into it. There is no way I'm going to change. And what we always like to say to that is, okay, but what's the cost of not changing? Are you going to sink thousands of more dollars into it to eventually get what you need? And you have to do this again and again and again over the next 20, 30 years. Or if you make the switch now and you're on a platform that can grow and scale with you and grow and scale with that next gen technology, do you end up saving more money in the long run? And so that's, I would say, the biggest, those two are the biggest barriers to switching, is time. And then, I've put a lot of money into what I have today.
Okay, so last question. How are you handling integrations? And what's your recommendation for finding software, etc.?
Yeah, so there's these two different concepts in software in general, when you're looking at from an investor standpoint, or when you're a software company trying to, own your specific market. There's best in breed and there's all in one. And those are kind of, best in breed is the platform that does one specific thing and is really, really good at that one specific thing they do. And then there's all in one platforms, which canvas everything across the board, do everything you need. You never have to leave that platform. And you can fall somewhere in between, but it counterintuitive to what ERP feels like. I tend to always suggest go for the best in breed. The more you put into a platform, the more the platform does, the less good it is at every individual thing, right? It's like the quality kind of decreases as the span rises. And so for things like marketplaces like Oyster Aero, for things like accounting, for things like paperwork or quality or blockchain, even you mentioned blockchain earlier, go find the software solutions that are the best at that and invest in those, and then get your ERP to integrate with those. And I think that is we have a lot of people that come to us that were like, oh, but we want you to do this and this and this and this and this, and we want this all on your platform. And we're like, well, we could do that, or we could be really, really good at helping you buy, sell, and store aircraft parts. And then you can talk to these 3 partners that we have that we think are the best in breed, and you can get onto their platform, and then we'll integrate and we make it a seamless experience. But you get someone who's really, really good and focused at the thing that they do. So
No, I
that's always my
understand that
advice.
completely. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So how do we get a hold of you?
You can reach out on LinkedIn. You can shoot us an email. Our website has direct links to all of our calendars. So if you want to check CorePilot out, feel free, head to our website, corepilotcloud.com, and we are always waiting.
All right, Maddie. It was good having you on today.
Yes. Great talking to you, Jeff. Thanks.
Thanks.